This program is sponsored by Safe Life Experience Consult Limited. Contact them for all your travel and tour needs, as well as your events. The program is Conversation with Augustus, and today we are talking about clericalism in the Catholic Church. And if you have been following the church news for the past 6 years, you would notice that the church has been in the limelight. A lot of things have been said about the church, good and bad as well. And if you agree with me or you disagree with me, it may be some leaders of our church who either ignore reports made to them, or some failed to even attempt addressing some issues. Some also attempted addressing them, but at the end of the day, the church has not been seen as it should be seen. And today we are talking about clericalism, and most of our example may be based in Ghana or on Africa. My guest for today is Reverend Father Ebenezer Kofi Hansen. Father happens to be the immediate past Youth and Vocations Director of the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra, now stationed as to the Archbishop Ando Katikatka Center. Father, you're most welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, my brother.
Okay, so today we are talking about clericalism, but I would want to find out who is a clergy or who is a cleric.
So the word clergy connotes ordained ministers. So that's in a plural form. Okay, so let's say the priests, religious, deacons, bishops, cardinals, the Pope, we all come together as the clergy.
Okay.
But the word cleric has to do with an individual who has been ordained as a minister of God.
Then in the Catholic Church, what are the qualifications that one needs to become a cleric?
So one will have to go through formation. Formation, the basic ones we all know, whether diocesan or religious, will have to be that one will have to go through formation in philosophy and formation in theology. In the case of religious, they may have to go through the postulancy and novitiate. But for the philosophical studies and theological studies, both religious and diocesans will have to undergo in order to be ordained as a cleric or to become a clergy person.
My question to you is that, is clericalism an issue when it comes to the church in Ghana, in Africa, and even in the world, in the universal church?
Yes, of course. It is. The church is one. And what happens elsewhere usually happens at another place, except that the degree may be different. Yes, but what has happened in Europe and America definitely has some effects on Africa, or we have some shades of the challenge out there in Africa, in Ghana. Because we are looking at human organism, a living organism. And so society, the philosophy of society actually affects our spiritual understanding of life, in this case of ministry. So whatever happened in Europe and America some years ago, decades ago, which today has been a real problem, the Pope made reference to it in 2018 at the start of the Synod on the vocations, youth and vocations. In his opening address to the bishops, he acknowledged that clericalism has become sinful, or it is sinful, a bane in the life of the church, and even called for confession, that we admit that we are going contrary to the spirit of our ministry. Okay, so now this is about the church, the world, universal church, that the Pope acknowledged. Now somebody may say it's about Europe, it's about America, not Ghana. But that same synod was not attended by only the European bishops or American bishops. Africans were there. So we definitely may not have so much of a problem now, but there is some undertone, or there are some undertones here. So we can look at it at our own level and then manage it from there.
So in this case, what factors accounts for clericalism?
So there are some philosophical ideologies which the Holy Father made reference to in his first apostolic exhortation, the joy of the gospel. He mentioned, for instance, consumerism. He mentioned hedonism. Consumerism is, simply put, the crave for material things. The crave for material things that will satisfy us. So, for instance, we have let's say MTN. People are consuming their products. Okay, football is giving us so much to consume. So almost every industry is giving us so much out. So the crave for it is a personal ideology. When it comes to hedonism, it is seeking of pleasure, to satisfy my emotional being. I seek for maybe pleasure. It could be in food, it could be in water, it could be through a film, watching of a film, that will make me happy. So that which will make me happy, I seek it out. Okay. Then relativism. Relativism here has to do with the fact that we have different cultures, yes. When we are unable to go to one point, as far as the moral issues are concerned, we seem to make it look like if it is me, it is okay. You can start also interpret it in your own context. So I think that for me, to be holy means probably I sweep the gutters. Somebody thinks that to be holy means that he eats and sleeps. And when you ask a person, say yes. Another person thinks that to be holy means to really do things that are quite spectacular. But there should be a balance. Morality is objective, so to speak. When it comes to spiritual and moral issues, they are quite objective. So if people begin to think that no, we give our cravings to what is supposed to be morally absolute. So let's say abortion. Somebody can say, for me, I feel it's okay insofar as it is not me suffering. But there's an absolute truth about abortion.
And I understand. But before we continue, let me tell our viewers that the program is Conversation with Augustus on Radio Angelus, and also you can watch us on our YouTube channel, Conversation with Augustus. But the word that you just mentioned, abortion, and let me say that after this video, the next one or two which we'll be showing is the use of contraceptives, or the Catholic stand on contraceptives. So far, that was just something that came up, which I just want our listeners and viewers to also know that these are some of the topics which we'll be discussing in the coming days. Please continue.
Good. So I've mentioned consumerism, act of consuming products, services, goods and services. I've mentioned hedonism, pleasure seeking. People want to be happy, and they think they have to use any means to be happy, disregarding the reality of the cross. So when it comes to suffering, it is nobody's business. It is those who have been cursed because of their own misdeeds who should suffer. Now, these are but a few philosophical ideologies the Holy Father spoke about that he felt was affecting the church in terms of ministry. Okay, so now with this at the background, you can say safely that what actually accounts for clericalism is when ministers of God, ordained ministers, that's the hierarchy of the church, places more emphasis on exercise of powers instead of seeing the ministry as a free gift to be shared through service and ministry. The two are not the same. There's so much power in the ministry. When Jesus gave Peter the key, okay, the authority over heaven and earth, the two keys, actually they symbolize the hierarchical power and then the ministerial power, if you like. So for instance, we have the title of the Pope, servant of the servants of Christ. We also have the Supreme Pontiff. The two in a balance make for authority. So where we place too much emphasis on the exercise of the power which goes with the ministry against the service which goes with the ministry as a free gift. In fact, we don't merit it. St. Paul will say, you have been bought and paid for. So if we exercise the service, which is a gift to us, there's no problem. But when we place too much emphasis on the power, the aura that comes with the service or the ministry, then we are heading for clericalism.
But some would argue that if you don't exercise your power, then you may not be respected. You may not be seen as the one heading your parish or heading the flock with which you've been given. You realize that, let me say, a shepherd who has his sheep or on the field must make sure that he directs the sheep by exercising his power, where they should go and where not to go. So could you throw a bit light on the exercise of power?
Yes, so power and authority. Authority is more of the office which one occupies. Okay, so I'm, let's say, assistant director of the Clericalical Center. This is an office. That's authority the church has given me. But it comes with a power. By my ordination, I have the power to attend to those who come there. The power is not to make me see myself as superior to those who come to me. So the power you're talking about has to do with the administration of the gifts God has given to humanity in righteousness and mercy, or in justice and mercy. As a cleric, I am a prophet. I am also a priest to sanctify the people of God. As a prophet, a priest is supposed to teach, to instruct in morals and in spiritual things, especially. Then, as an administrator, or as a governor, as a king, a priest also acts to govern, to administer, to serve in terms of the temporal goods of the church. So, for instance, Peter and his brothers were acting in authority which God had given them initially. So they were praying, they were sharing the word of God, things were happening, miracles were happening, people were having their healing. Many people joined the church, but they were still administering with the temporal goods of the church. So sharing of food to the poor and all that, it was good. But they realized that it was eating them up. So they had to retreat, to delegate that power of governance to the deacons. And it was a responsibility, according to Acts of the Apostles, to choose not just anybody at all, but devout persons. So that while they did their work very well, it's as though they themselves were there. Then they will have time for the word and for prayer. So the moment a minister of God focuses so much on administrative powers, it is likely that the person will create an imbalance when it comes to the real priestly and prophetic powers he has.
In fact, there's this question in mind. I don't know how to actually put it, but I remember some years back I was talking to a reverend brother who once worked in my parish at Our Lady of Mercy, and he said he was the one who helped in forming the choir. So those who know Our Lady of Mercy and who know the foundation of the main choir may know the one I'm actually referring to. And he said he was there. He is a religious brother. And then there was a priest. So he was given a duty. So now you've made mention of separation of powers, if I get the explanation correctly. Now it looks like our priests are all in all. They are the finance, even though we may have the finance board or whatever, but the priest is the one who decides how much goes out. He's the one who is doing the administrative work. He's the same person in charge of catechesis. He's the same person in charge of everything. So the priest has become multi-tasked professional, heading a lot of duties. And at the end of the day, I believe this is one major area which is actually affecting, and clericalism is becoming an issue which, if it is not well handled, may actually bring a lot of challenges to the church. Do you agree or you disagree to this?
I agree. But let me say that what I'm talking about is not about separation of powers. It's about delegation of powers. So the priest only delegates. He's not separated from the power. He has shared a part of his authority.
Okay.
Yes. So it doesn't mean that he should just say, you do this, and then he's out, is away, is far from the daily activities. No. But he trusts that the person has put there can do the work, and the person must report to him. Okay. So that is that about the delegation of power. Now, about what you have mentioned, yes, it is true. I think we all appreciate the fact that brothers, religious brothers, religious sisters, the lay, faithful, are so much endowed with gifts, professional gifts, spiritual gifts that we can never lack. In fact, I believe that the problem of the church is not about lack. I think we have so much that we don't know how to manage them. So the problem of the Catholic Church today, I think, is abundance and not lack. Yes. Let me take you through a certain history so that we appreciate why the priests seem to be all in all. In those days, priests who came, missionaries, solicited funds from outside to help the church here in Africa, in Ghana. So the people trusted the priests with their collections. So the priest on Sundays or Mondays, having worked the whole week and on Sunday, counted the money, the collection that came, or the offering, and used it for their welfare and well-being. Over time, we had lay people rich with professional studies, accounting and other things, that could bring about to help the church. So in the canon law, there is the need for finance council at the Adasan level, and then finance committee at the parish level. The finance committee then helps the parish priest or the priest in charge to manage the financial life of the church. So more or less, the priest then delegates his power of counting the money, because now we have the luxury of lay people who can do it. So the priest gives the money to the lay to count it, to check it out. And then in some parishes now, we even have administrators who really help with the daily running of the church. Why? So that the priest will have more time for prayer and more time for reading the word of God, as the apostles did. And so if this is done properly, then there's no problem. But like you're saying, the challenge is that even where we have banking systems now, and people are sometimes, the people of God, finance committee, let's say, takes care of the counting of the money. It is a priest who will bank the money. So Monday morning, he drives to the bank to put it in the bank. The priest is not a cashier. A priest is not no. That time he can use for something else. Then the church needs money. The priest have to go to the bank and withdraw. No. That is not the work of the priest today. So supposing we didn't have the means. So on emergency cases, sorry, if there's an emergency, yes, the priest can go. But these things, maybe a priest has to go and buy building materials. Where you have people to go themselves. Even if you think things must be done with all the necessary measures put in place to avoid any mishandling of money or whatever, you can go and do the arrangements and just send the people to go and pick them. You understand? You don't even doubt how wholesome they are. But to drive yourself there, buy the things and come, and you have to know and buy drinks, and you have to, no. It is not the work of the priest.
So what's the work of the priest then?
The work of the priest is the work of Christ. To proclaim the good news. To spend time before the Lord in the Eucharist. To attend to people's spiritual needs, listen to confessions, giving direction to people.
But if the priest should plan his daily routine and he has time to do this, why doesn't he do it?
So I'm saying that in some conditions, peculiar conditions, like some typical villages, you may not have the people to do all these things. So some way, somehow, the priest will have to do it. But in open communities today, where largely you have people you can train, even in villages, if you want to train somebody to really do these things, you can get somebody to do it so that you have more time for these prophetic priestly ministries. And in fact, even the governance. The governance is not only about going to buy things and putting money in the bank and collecting money. No. If there is conflict somewhere, you have to go and then help solve it. Going to see the opinion leaders in the community once a while, visiting them, the chiefs, to try and see what is happening, because your people, the church is within the community. So there are so many things to be done. If the need arises, there's no problem. The church permits it. But it gets a point in time that one must withdraw for the most important works to be done. So when it depends also on one's temperament. When one goes about these things that are not directly linked to salvation of souls, the person may lose energy when it comes to the real things. So he does all the rounds in the morning, he's tired. If it's Accra or the city centers, goes through all the traffic, he comes back tired, and then a lay person comes with a problem. The natural inclination is that, look, I am tired. Can you come the next time? You see, but if he conserves more energy, he has energy to attend to everybody who comes around, irrespective of the time. So the effect of this is, then we say, okay, office hours, 9 to 5. If you don't come within this time, I can't attend to you. No, the office hours are good. It's good to have that plan, because the sitting in the office and listening to people come is also part of the ministry, the pastoral ministry, administrative ministry. But that should not be so that it is cast in stone that anybody who comes after that has committed an offense to arouse the wrath of the pastor or the minister. No. We have to work 24 hours, actually.
So does culture has any role to play when it comes to clericalism?
Exactly. Culture is way of life of a people. So traditionally, if one comes from a society where power is felt by the leaders of the society. So you see how, for instance, in Ghana, in almost all our traditional setup, we revere our chiefs.
Definitely, yeah.
We revere our civil authorities because of the same environment we come from. So we even accord more reverence to the priests or the clergy. So they feel that if even human beings, we accord them so much, how much more God in the priests. That is why you see how we revere even seminarians. That young boy who goes to SS and wants to be a priest already is given special treatment at home. So this person becomes a priest and has in mind that I have to be revered, I have to be pampered, I have to be carried in order to serve. And so that culture, which encourages reverential treatment or preferential treatment to leaders, sometimes makes leaders feel that they must be served and they must not serve. So you go to a mission house, if a priest has to wash his own dish, the cook can never understand it. That father wants to wash his own dish because in the general sense, our culture makes us serve our leaders. So if you have a culture where leaders are made to serve, it becomes easier for a minister of God in that regard.
This program was sponsored by Safe Life Experience Consult Limited. Contact them for all your travel and tour needs, as well as your events.